the line, you can't fold and you can't bend. Y'all be playing it safe and I be going for the win. Remember back when they was doubting on the kid. Now they tuned in cause my game too legit.
Yo, Headliner Nation, Kyle back with the Fantasy Headliners, and we got another banger of a mock draft for you today because this one, we are going deep. That is right, 16 teams in this mock draft. I did 14 teams a couple of weeks ago, and I'm doing 16 teams tonight. Why? Because y'all asked for it. Saw a lot of comments. Kyle, 14, 16 teams. Those of us in deeper leagues, we got to see it. Let us hear the feet. We heard you, and I wanted to get some of that content out to you. So we've got one deep of a mock draft today. And hey, listen, speaking of going deep, you need to make sure that you prep yourself for a night out on the town. Why? Because when you're headed out there, you need to look your best. And the only way to look your best is by going to manscaped.com, using code word headliners, all capital letters, and getting yourself some tools to make sure you look the best before going deep. Listen, manscaped.com, code word headliners, all of their great products over there. You're going to get 20% off and you're going to get free shipping. Make sure you head over there. We're partnering up with our friends at Manscaped for the second straight season. So got to give them some love here in this video. But hey, we got to jump into it now. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and let's talk a little bit about a 16-team mock draft. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are already into our 16-team mock draft. This is a big one. This is a big one. Lots and lots of depth to be found here. But we've been asked this question over and over. Can you do deeper leagues? Can you do 14? Can you do 16? So we wanted to throw a couple of bigger leagues in there for everyone to see. Now, we are in round one. We're already making our way through the draft. Already started. I've got the draft board up there for you real quick so you can see the picks as they come off the board. Felt like this might be a little bit cleaner for us tonight to take a look at everything. But TJ going with Derrick Henry number 1 overall. I mean, hey, I've got Derrick Henry at number 3. So how am I to argue someone that wants to just take him number 1? TJ probably at this point experimenting a little bit. You know, that's what mock drafts are for. And that's what we tell our community. Everybody that's in here tonight is an MVP Patreon. So everybody in here tonight is somebody that has signed up through our Patreon page. They're a part of our MVP tier, and they're all in here drafting with us tonight. So we greatly appreciate that. But TJ going with Derrick Henry number 1 overall, testing something out here, taking a look at it. This is only half PPR, so it's not that big of a deal to say, oh, hey, I'm going to go with Derrick Henry instead. TJ loves some Derrick Henry. Go for it. But for me, that means I get to take my number 1, Dalvin Cook. And Christian McCaffrey falls to PZ all the way down at number 3. So it really worked out there for PZ. For me, Dalvin Cook is at number 1. Nothing against Christian McCaffrey. Absolutely love him. But I've got Dalvin Cook number 1 overall this year. I like him. I think he's going to be utilized a lot again. As long as he stays healthy, he should put up numbers that are very, very similar to Christian McCaffrey. The only thing I'm concerned about with CMC this year is maybe they just dial the receptions back a little bit for him. Again, just because of all the pass catchers they have there. So Christian McCaffrey, Nick Chubb goes to Cadman at number 4. Gotta love that. Gotta love Nick Chubb going that early. Alvin Kamara, Ezekiel Elliott, Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor, James Dennison goes with our first wide receiver off the board at number... Wait a second. What pick is James? It doesn't show the pick at the top. I just realized that. But so James going with Davante Adams right there in the middle of the first round. Saquon Barkley to Axman. My Chubb needs TDs. Antonio Gibson. Then Austin Eckler, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Najee Harris, and Joe Mixon. Again, this is a 16-team league. So what do we got? 16, 15, 14, 13. So right here for your 12-teamers, this right here would be the end of the first round. So one thing with like these two guys, Antonio Gibson and Austin Eckler going right here, they know with this being 16 teams, there's no way these guys are wrapping back around to them. So they have to take them now. All right. So that's part of the reason there. Mock Drafter 14 going with the Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes stack. I'm not sure who mock drafter number 12 is. I hope they're just testing something out. I don't like that. I don't love it at all, especially in a 16-team league, because now mock drafter 14 is probably not going to have anything to use at quarterback or at running back, and I absolutely hate to see that. So we'll have to see this wrap back around here and see what mock drafter 14 does, but I'm really worried about this stack. Again, it's a mock draft, though, so they can test it out, and if they try it out and later on they figure out, oh, there's no running backs for me, then they go a different route later on. David Montgomery going off the board to Fat Doc there. He goes with Tyreek Hill to start off. So then grabbing David Montgomery here in the second round, not bad at all. But again, with the 16-team league, guys are going to start to run out really, really quick. We'll see who gets back to me here at the second pick in the second round. I've got my eye on a few people here. Just taking a look at position-wise, I would like to get another running back. But really, who's going to make it down there? Yeah, DeAndre Swift could potentially fall that far, but I highly doubt it. Darrell Henderson will likely be there for me. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, CEH, because of the injury scare right now, who knows? That could be a guy that ends up making it back to me. Darrell Henderson going off the board there already. I love to see it. Love to see it. Did a must-have video the other day, and who was included in it? Darrell Henderson. So my Chubb Needs TDs obviously has been watching the videos. Love to see that that Antonio Gibson, Darrell Henderson start there. Axman goes with Calvin Ridley after Saquon Barkley. So a really, really good start for Axman. That is one heck of an upside play there. If Barkley's healthy and ready to go week 1 and not limited whatsoever, and you got a guy in the mid-second round of a 16-team league that has the opportunity to be the wide receiver 1, that's not a bad start whatsoever. So Axman off to a really, really good start here. Khalifa going with DeAndre Hopkins to pair up with Jonathan Taylor. So we'll see with M. St. G, say maybe to Rojo, mock drafter 5, Cadman, Peasy. We'll see as it comes back through what they do. If they decide to balance it out with another wide receiver, or if they're going to go running back heavy to get this thing started. Darren Waller could come off the board very soon. George Kittle could come off the board very soon. My hope for the tight end position is that TJ Hawkinson will be there for me when it gets back to me in round 4. Probably wishful thinking with it being 16 teams, but we'll see. And this is working out really, really nice for me right now because we're seeing a little bit of a run on wide receivers, and I really want a couple of these running backs to potentially get back to me. Right now, I've got my eye on DeAndre Swift. I've got 3 picks to go. If DeAndre Swift can make it back to me, we're going to be super excited for this start. Josh Jacobs, Chris Carson, potentially, so Justin Jefferson. So now we only got 2. I have a pretty good feeling that PZ is going to get me here. I've got a pretty good feeling that PZ is going to get me here. He's going to take Swift, and it's going to mess everything up. He didn't. He went with Keenan Allen. So I am going to go with DeAndre Swift, and I absolutely am loving this start in a 16-team league. DeAndre Swift, absolutely a guy that we can count on for some touches through the air this year. If you missed out, I did a running back, or I did a breakout or bust video on DeAndre Swift already. Because I'm really interested to see what happens. This is a guy that has a great opportunity to get a bunch of touches through the air. Now that we've got Anthony Lynn as the offensive coordinator there in Detroit, that is a guy who has given tons and tons and tons and tons of touches to Austin Eckler and Melvin Gordon, both on the ground and through the air. So you can check out that video for a little bit more information. I'm not going to go with another running back here. I could potentially go Mike Davis. We can start 3. Let me see who we have at wide receiver real quick. I'm not going to do it, though, because Terry McLaurin is here, and we have to start 3 wide receivers. So I am actually going to go ahead and go with Terry McLaurin. I'm not going to take Mike Davis over Terry McLaurin here. Mike Davis will now be gone before it gets back to me. Part of my thinking is, start off with 3 straight running backs. So much upside there with Terry McLaurin to still be left on the board at the beginning of the 3rd round in a 16-team league. Absolutely, absolutely phenomenal value right there. So again, a whole lot of upside on this team right now. DeAndre Swift, again, might have some weeks where it's a little bit tough, but it's really going to depend on how many touches Jamal Williams gets. And as Jamal Williams gets more touches, then yeah, there's going to be a little bit of an issue as boop, 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 boop. Okay, it's going to come down a little bit, but that's all right. What do we got here? So James Robinson to Peasy after me. CeeDee Lamb goes to Cadman after that. CeeDee Lamb, great pick. I am not sick, I promise, but I do have CeeDee Lamb over Amari Cooper now in my rankings. And y'all know, if you've been a fan of the channel for a while, you know I love me. You know I love me some Amari Cooper. But I had to do it. I had to do it. Just Amari continues to have little just issues that keep him banged up and stuff of that nature, and you just don't love it. Absolutely no idea why Darren Waller hasn't gone yet. I mean, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are off the board before Darren Waller. He's going to have to be coming soon, I would imagine. For me, again, I'm hoping for TJ Hawkinson when it gets all the way back around to me. But I'm really surprised Darren Waller hasn't come off the board as of yet. And again, I think part of it is that this group that I'm drafting with right now, again, MVP members for us, we all are consistently talking and going through different things. I know there's a lot of us this year that are kind of in agreement that, we're going to skip on some tight ends. Maybe we don't want to pay. In these bigger leagues, we've talked about it before. We've said, man, you really got to have some running backs. Khalifa going with Robert Woods over a Darren Waller there. Kareem Hunt to M. St. G over a Darren Waller. I mean, it's boding well for me because the longer these guys wait on tight ends, it only is going to reinforce the fact that there at the end of round 4, I have a legitimate shot of TJ Hawkinson. But George Kittle, Darren Waller, and then I've got TJ Hawkinson up there. I've actually got TJ Hawkinson just over George Kittle this year, just because I'm not feeling Jimmy Garoppolo that much. All right, I do think he's going to start. And I do think he's going to start all season long, okay? I do think he's going to start all season long. However, the one thing about George Kittle is, A, can Jimmy Garoppolo be consistent all season long? Number 2, can George Kittle be above and beyond what Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel can offer? This is the first time in quite some time, it feels like, that San Francisco has had this many weapons together on one team. And of course, this is a team that loves to run the football. Kyle Shanahan loves to get creative on the ground with the football. So, what's that going to make for George Kittle? I think the thing about TJ Hawkinson is that Jared Goff really isn't going to have anybody, and he's just going to be peppering TJ Hawkinson with a whole lot of targets. That's my thing with TJ Hawkinson. They're going to be down. They're going to be trailing. They're going to be throwing the football. TJ Hawkinson's going to be a guy that's going to get a whole lot of targets. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what I want. That is what I want. So Mike Davis coming off the board there right before Darren Waller. James probably thinking to himself, man, I could get, maybe he's going to go Kyle Pitts. Maybe he decides that he's going to go Kyle Pitts on the way back through. Because if he does, obviously, comes Kyle Pitts on the way back through, then that doesn't look that bad. But Darren Waller, George Kittle, I would have went with Darren Waller over Mike Davis, but James probably thinking here, hey, I'm going to have another running back because if I go with Darren Waller here, I'm not going to get a guy as it comes back around. And that's why I'm liking my team so much right now. I've got 2 guys that I can plug every single week at the running back position, and I'm pretty confident they're going to get enough touches to hold their weight there. Mike Evans coming off to my Chubb needs TDs. Really liking this start for him. Really a whole lot of upside here. Bolts, what does that say? Bolts and Herbars? Bolts and Herbars? Some of these names that these guys, I think that they have a competition weekly to see who can come up with the most creative name as well. Somebody put Jake's mom. So Cooper Kupp going off the board to him. Fat Dot goes with Raheem Mostert there. Mock Drafter 14. I don't know what this is right here, to be honest with you. Then goes with Adam Thielen. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. Very interesting. If Mock Draft 14 is in the comments, and I don't know who it is because they didn't change their name. Let us know what you're thinking here because you decided to go with 2 tight ends. Yeah, you can flex one of them, but I don't really see the point in that. I'm not a big fan of that. And you've got a quarterback. Now here at you took a wide receiver, so you don't have a running back. That's a tough start. That's a tough start. Chris Godwin off the board to Fat Doc now. So, I mean, he's got a pretty decent start here as well. David Montgomery being kind of your safe play there. But you've got a whole lot of, TJ Hawkinson, man. I thought he was going to hold on. I really did. Wow. Okay. So, gets me there. So, TJ Hawkinson off the board. He gets me there. That's all right. Maybe Kyle Pitts makes it back, but I highly doubt it. Maybe I take a look at Mark Andrews. I was a little bit lower on Mark Andrews since they added Rashad Bateman, but Rashad Bateman's going to be missing some time. So Mark Andrews getting a little bit more of a bump for me now in terms of that safety category. So I don't mind it, but Kyle Pitts more than likely at this point will be gone, and I won't get a chance to grab him. So Travis Etienne, Amari Cooper. My Chubb needs TDs. There's just a whole lot of upside on this team right now. Antonio Gibson, Darrell Henderson, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper. All of those guys have just absolutely boom potential every single week. That is one heck of a start if you're just looking for all the upside in the world. Axman, I like this start for Axman here. Going Darren Waller, I feel like you really have to go him there over some of the running backs that were taken after him. Travis Etienne, I don't think is that bad of a grab here. I don't think it's that bad of a grab. I don't mind it. In a half PPR league, which is what this set is set up to be, you're just going to have to hope that he gets a decent amount of targets. DJ Moore was a guy that I was kind of hoping for to come back to me potentially too. Like if the running back or if the tight ends aren't there for me, maybe go with running back or go with another wide receiver there and DJ Moore. Looking at the wide receiver still on the board right now. Not in love with what I see either. And we have to start 3 wide receivers. So, if Kyle Pitts makes it back to me, probably going to go Kyle Pitts here and a wide receiver. If Mark Andrews is here, maybe Mark Andrews is a wide receiver, or potentially I go with a couple of wide receivers here. Kalafa goes with his first quarterback. He goes with Kyler Murray there. So he takes Kyler Murray here in the 4th round, a little early for me, a little spicy. Again, I'm not a big, not a big quarterback early. Not a big quarterback early. Let me see here. Yep, M. St. G there goes with Kyle Pitts. So Kyle Pitts now off the board. Don't need to worry about that. Same maybe to Rojo goes with Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett, A.J. Brown, Josh Jacobs, and Zeke. So, Jacobs and Zeke, I think you're sitting there saying, okay, we've got a pretty decent floor with those guys, and then we went with the ceiling with A.J. Brown and Tyler Lockett. So I can see what say maybe to Rojo's doing. I think he's really trying to stay balanced in terms of, being safe and having as much upside as he possibly can get. And more than likely what we'll do, I'll make my next couple of picks, and then we'll kind of probably at that point, I'll go through and I will do the rest of the draft on my own, and then I'll pop up the board for everyone to see at the very end, and then we'll talk about really the entire board and what I see and everything going on. Peasy going with Mike Gesicki. Very interesting there for Peasy. That's going to be one that I'd like to talk to him a little bit more about. I am going to go ahead and go a little bit earlier. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to go with Deontay Johnson here. And I know I did a players to avoid video with Deontay Johnson, but it was based on where he was going in terms of his ADP. The ADP is starting to soften a little bit now that we're watching draft season get into full play. And Mark Andrews goes there. I was kind of hoping he would make it back to me, but that's okay. But I decided to go with Deontay Johnson there. I was going to try and grab Mark Andrews on the way back through. I should have just went with Mark Andrews instead. But again, this is a 16-team league, and now he's here at the end of the 4th round. Not a bad opportunity there. Okay, not a bad opportunity there for me to grab Deontay Johnson. Chase Claypool going off the board right there as well. I'd really love to have Juju here. I'm a big fan of Juju this year. But again, in a 16-team league, I'm looking for a little bit more upside to kind of separate myself because of how large the rosters are. There's going to be some weeks because everything is just so... I mean, everything is so deep. You're going to have some weeks where you're starting guys where it's just... there's not much that you can do. I decided to go T. Higgins here. Jamar Chase definitely looks like a guy with a little bit of rust. He's going to end up being fine. Jamar Chase, he was my wide receiver 1 in the draft. So it's nothing against Chase, and I'm not overreacting to the drops the other night. But he took all of last season off. Remember, he was a guy that opted out of last season. So he is really back to playing football for the first time in a while. So T. Higgins, I think, is a guy who is still really, really, really going to dominate there in terms of some high-end touchdowns. So again, I'm trying to go very, very high upside play here as we kind of roll through all of this. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up the draft. Now that you've seen my first 5 picks, we're about 20 minutes in because it's such a long video. So I'm going to go ahead and bounce out of the video, finish everything out, and then I'll show the entire draft board at the very end, and we will talk more about the way the team looks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here's the final draft board. Now, lots of teams, lots of names. It might be a little bit difficult for you to see. So if you're on a tablet, a computer, you're probably good. If you're on your phone, you might have to squint a little bit, get that thing right up against your face. But let's take a look at how everything ended up playing out. We talked through the first 5 picks or so. I think Kenyon Drake was the last pick I made. But we'll go through the rest of it. I went with Tom Brady in the 7th round. With it being a 16-team league, we're probably going to have a lot of quarterbacks going pretty quickly here as we get into the 7th. Tom Brady, top 10 quarterback for me. 7th round, absolutely going for it. We get to the 8th, and I decided to go with a tight end here. There wasn't anyone here that was super exciting for me, like a Darnell Mooney, who I was hoping maybe would last another round, ended up coming off the board. So again, nobody like super exciting for me. So I just decided to go with Dallas Goedert. I do think Dallas Goedert could potentially end up becoming the guy at tight end this year for the Eagles. You know, I don't have him as high as I once did because we have found out really at this point that Zach Ertz is back, right? Zach Ertz is going to be back this year. He is going to be playing alongside Dallas Goedert. So some of that appeal of Zach Ertz being gone is not in the cards anymore. But I am all on board with still grabbing him this late, especially because I ended up going with Jordan Akins in the 12th round a few picks later. Now, if you own the draft guide, you know that I am a big Jordan Akins fan this year. I've planted my flag in him. Really probably shouldn't have said that on a video, but it is what it is. Can't take it back now. So I like Jordan Akins this year. I think that he could do a lot of good there in Houston, and I think he is a guy that I can pair up with Dallas Goedert, and if things just don't work out that well with Goddard to begin with, I can throw Akins in there. If Goddard's playing well, we're good. But I think Jalen Hurts is going to be looking towards his tight ends. I think that's going to be one thing. So, you know, I definitely believe there is an opportunity for those guys to get more than enough targets. Devonta Smith, he's been a little bit banged up so far this offseason, this preseason. So we'll see if he gets on the right leg. But if he doesn't, and he's a guy that ends up, you know, injured more often than not, then we are going to have ourselves one heck of a value with Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert both. Went with Henry Ruggs in round 9. Like Henry Ruggs, definitely think he's the type of playmaker that Las Vegas can move around a little bit, whether it be in the slot, whether it be on the outside. Lots of different things that we can do with Henry Ruggs. Love Bryan Edwards as well. Wasn't able to grab him in this draft. Love Bryan Edwards as well. But Henry Ruggs, I think him being drafted here is more appropriate than last year when people were like, oh, 6th round pick, definitely a guy that's going to be a big time. Just didn't happen. In round 10, I'm going to be honest with you, timed out here. I accidentally clicked out of the wrong browser. Then when I tried to get back in, I couldn't get back in quick enough to make the pick. So I timed out and it took a defense for me. My bad. Wouldn't be the first mistake I ever make. Tevin Coleman in round 11. I needed to add another running back. All right. So I've had Dalvin Cook and DeAndre Swift. Decided to go with Kenyon Drake as my RB3. I needed RB4 and I'm going to grab Tevin Coleman here. It sounds like that this is going to be a committee to at least start. I still think Michael Carter is the guy long term this season. As we get into week 5, 6, 7, 8, he starts to take more and more away. But to begin the season, I'll grab Tevin Coleman right now so he can help me out a little bit if I need to get through a bye or something or an injury to begin the season. Talked about Jordan Akins already. Went with Nico Collins, rookie, Houston, but he is a guy that could be a red zone threat, and there might not be a whole lot else to throw there, too, besides Brandon Cooks. We'll see what else happens, but Nico Collins could be a guy that could be a target hog. I went with my kicker here. I decided to go with the kicker because I timed out and got a defense so early. I was like, let's just play this as if I was drafting like right before the season starts, and we're getting closer to that anyway. So I go with Rodrigo Blankenship out of Indianapolis. Samaje Perine. Samaje Perine. Talked about him in a handcuff video a couple of weeks ago in a late round video. Definitely a guy to grab this year, especially in a league this deep. If anything were to happen to Joe Mixon, Perine is going to get the majority of those touches on the ground. I like Chris Evans. I just don't think he's a guy that's going to take the entire workload. Go with Jared Goff as a quarterback 2. Rye in the 16-team league. It's a little bit harder to go through and just grab guys and stream them, right? You know us here. We love to stream our quarterbacks. I don't typically waste a second bench spot on a quarterback, but because it is a 16-team league, I'm like, let me just grab a guy and have him available. So if I need to put him in for Tom Brady in a certain week, on the bye, whatever it may be, in a 16-team league, if everyone's grabbing 2 quarterbacks, you're not going to end up having an opportunity to grab someone later on off the waiver wire. Marquez Valdes-Scantling in round 17, brought him up in a deep sleeper video a while back. Dude is an absolute monster in downfield targets and ADOT. Big playmaker potentially. Just grabbing him here as kind of a late round guy. And then I decided to take Never Funchess in round 18 and dedicate that pick to Jake because I know that he would be giving me an A+ on this draft for doing that. Okay. That's not true at all. But ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. There is our draft. I'm not going to go through and break down every single team in this one because it's 16 teams. There are a lot of guys out there to take a look at. So, if you're looking to kind of break this down and go through, I talked about it already, broke down the teams kind of in that first 5 to 6 rounds that I was recording live while doing it. But pause it, take a look, see what some guys did. Use this as a learning tool. Do I like that? Do I not like that? This guy did this, so maybe I don't do that. So again, like Mock Drafter 14, we're going to stay away from that draft strategy that he had today, but you can see how it works out and how it's probably not that great of an idea. So ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor, hit the like button. If you're new here to the Fantasy Headliners, well, you got to subscribe. And also down in the comments below, let me know some thoughts about the mock draft today. 16 teams, a big one, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to look a lot different than what some of you are used to doing, but it's really good to at least see that and see how it's so much different. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get out of here. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you all in the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.